I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Well, new life for the Lincoln Park School, which celebrated a grand reopening today as the Lincoln Park Apartments. The repurposed elementary school will provide affordable housing in the neighborhood.
The Douglas County Historical Society in Superior is hosting the Wisconsin History Tour with a number of special events next week.
And in our Newsfile story from 25 years ago, Minnesota got a visit from the leader of a world superpower.
These stories and more up next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching and congratulations to all of the graduates out there. Denny, I know you have a couple of grandsons who are graduating.
Andrew and Cameron both graduated last night, Denfeld High School. Congratulations to them.
And to all of the graduates. And we have some interesting topics. So,
yeah, we sure do, Julie. Thank you very much and welcome everyone. When the Lincoln Park Elementary School closed a few years ago, the neighborhood was concerned. Since it was the first built in the late 1800s, the school has been an important focal point for the neighborhood. Now, thanks to a $10 million effort to redevelop the building, it has new life. Joining us to talk about the Lincoln Park Apartments grand opening is Pam Kramer, Executive Director of Duluth LISC, one of the partners in the project, and Rick Ball, the Director of Duluth's Housing Redevelopment Authority. Welcome to both of you. Thank you very much for being here. They weren't able to send a representative tonight, but Sherman Associates really was a key to making this project work, Pam.
Yes, they absolutely were. They're the key developer. They purchased the building from the school district and have been a great partner in bringing organizations into the building that are providing services, but also pulling together all the funding that was necessary for these 50 housing units.
Now this is more than an apartment building. Rick, could you speak a bit to the vision of what this whole larger development is?
Sure, it really is more than just an apartment building. Back when we first started working, the At Home in Duluth cooperative group began talking about how to redevelop this and repurpose the elementary school and wanted to make sure that all of the space was reused. So it's been the home now for quite a period of time for Community Action Duluth. It houses the Boys and Girls Club, which is an ongoing resource for the whole neighborhood, and so there's some good space that's available for the community to use as well.
Rick, you're going to be retiring soon, another week from about now.
Yes.
And you've seen a lot of changes over the years. You've headed the HRA here in town for a lot of years. If you can, how big a need is there still for additional HRA housing?
Well, there's really a continuing need for all housing at all different income levels and all different rent levels in the community right now. We have a growing workforce, which is a wonderful thing. I've actually been involved between the planning department and the Housing and Redevelopment Authority over the last 37 years. And really this is the first time in all that period that we've really been in a good growth mode with new job development and expansion. So it really is a time when we need more housing to be able to meet the needs.
Is there another project on the burner?
There are a number of projects actually on the burner. The Housing Authority has been working recently on a new development at the Point of Rocks. And as you know, there are several other phases of other market rate housing being developed in the community. We're working on the preservation of some other important housing. The Gateway Tower development is another important project to us to make sure we don't lose housing in the current market. So there are a number of projects that need to be completed here.
Let's circle back to the Lincoln Park Apartments and talk about specifically, Pam, what kind of housing needs that development really serves, both in the neighborhood and in the broader community?
Sure. It has a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And It's designed really for family housing, and it's a wonderful place for families with the Boys and Girls Club and with the other services that are there. The majority we would call workforce housing. It's affordable workforce housing for families, and 7 of the units are set aside for long-term homeless people who will be receiving some services. Definitely in this neighborhood there's a need for quality affordable housing, and this is very high quality.
Rick mentioned that LISC and the At Home in Duluth Collaborative really wanted to find a good use for that school. And in your mind, why was that so important to the success of the neighborhood?
The neighborhood has seen that as a focal point, you know, for their community for so many years. And when you lose a school, you lose a lot of the core of your neighborhood. There's concerns about what will happen. Will the building be torn down? Will you lose services? The Boys and Girls Club, for example, has been there for many, many years as part of the school. So I think what we really celebrated today is that we are still going to have educational opportunities there. They have a GED program, they have job training programs, training for parents with the Children and Family Collaborative, but now we have housing as well. And it's going to function as a community and add to the community resources.
Rick, today was the open house, but the apartments have actually been open since what, April?
Correct.
Are there still apartments available for people?
There are some apartments available. My understanding is that most of them have been leased up at this point, but there are still some apartments available. A number of them are providing subsidies through the Section 8 program, and so we do have some project-based Section 8 units that are yet to be filled.
Can you explain to us what Section 8 is?
Sure. Section 8 is a rent subsidy program where the individual tenant who's income qualified pays 30% of their income for rent, and the voucher or the subsidy covers the difference in the rent payment.
What makes a developer like Sherman attracted to a development like this?
I think he has a sense of history, George Sherman does, and wants to celebrate that history, likes older buildings. But one of the comments that he made today, and I've heard him say several times, is going into a building like this where you see kids and families and people receiving services and quality housing makes him smile. You know, he really knows that it's changing lives and making, you know, a better place, a better quality of life for people. And I felt the same way.
Was quite a bit of the character of the building preserved in this transformation, or how does it fit together?
It has been. Actually, the building itself has been built in many phases over the years, dating back to the late 1800s. And so there are many different phases to the building itself. But I think that the character of the building does come through and really speaks well for the developer to be able to play off of that and to fit it into the neighborhood nicely that way.
How does this building differ from the Steve O'Neill apartments?
Well, the Steve O'Neill apartments provide more direct services to residents with special needs. It's in both cases, it's family housing, so it's affordable housing for families in both cases. But there are a stronger set of services provided for the residents of the Steve O'Neill building, and there are also 6 units of shelter housing at the Steve O'Neill building.
There has been some recent press about crime and safety issues at some of the low-income affordable housing developments in town. Are there things that are occurring or safety precautions that are in place in this new facility to make sure that that element doesn't really move in and compromise the safety of the residents and of the neighborhood?
I think Sherman Associates is a very experienced landlord, and I know that one of the things that they did is they have a on-site staff, you know, right at the front door. They hired an experienced person, but I know that there was also a conversation with the community police officer and with the citizen patrol about how do we work together. And a lot of things, they're looking at the landscaping, making sure it's a safe environment. That was one of the highlights today, just seeing the beautiful landscaping, but making sure that's safe. I think the fact that all these services are available too involves the residents in the ownership of this building and creates more of a community. So screening is important, but that's something you know, a landlord like Sherman would be doing well.
If someone is interested in moving there, and either one of you can address this, if someone is interested in moving to these apartments, who do they see? How do they apply?
They can apply on site at the office in the school building. They can also apply through the Housing and Redevelopment Authority for a rent subsidy. So many tenants will also carry a tenant-based voucher and can find affordable housing anywhere in the community, and that would include this property.
There seems to be a transformation occurring in the whole Lincoln Park neighborhood, and Liska's been involved in that for a number of years. What do you see as driving that change forward? Because there's new housing development, there's new businesses moving in, there's kind of this connection with the river corridor.
Right.
What's happening?
I was just thinking about that there's a beautiful park in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. There's the tie to the trails, you know, the bike trails, the hiking trails, the new Lincoln Park Middle School, and there's a new energy in the business district. It's like people are discovering what a wonderful neighborhood this is, that, you know, it has so many things going for it, and this was just one more contribution to that, of saying, you know, here's a beautiful place to live where you can also learn to get a job, you can learn to save money and really build your family. So we just had our Lincoln Park event where we had, you know, hundreds of people attending that event and learning about community gardening and learning about how to get involved in the neighborhood. And in July there's going to also be another Meet on the Streets Lincoln Park outdoor event that will be coming up July 16th. So it's a community that's learning to work together and to see its assets and have a vision and act on that.
Well, thank you both for being here tonight. Appreciate it very much, Pam Kramer, Rick Ball. All the best to you in retirement.
Thank you very much.
And all the best now with this apartment as it continues to move forward.
We're going to miss him.
I'm sure you will. All right, thank
He'll
you.
be around.
Thanks very much.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
Mikhail and Raisa Gorbachev arrived at Twin Cities International Airport to chilly weather but a warm reception. The crowd greeted them, chanting their enthusiasm, Minnesota style. The motorcade took the Gorbachevs to the governor's mansion, where the premier's charismatic personality really began to shine through. He made one of his famous impromptu stops to shake hands and share the international language of smiles. From there, the president traveled to the Radisson Hotel, where he met with Midwest business and agricultural leaders, while Mrs. Gorbachev and Mrs. Perpich visited the home of Steve and Karen Watson for a glimpse of American family life. The final stop for the president was at Control Data International headquarters, where there he received a first-hand demonstration of a control data computer the Soviet Union will soon use to improve safety in their civilian nuclear power plants. The Soviet couple then departed back to the airport for their final goodbyes to Minnesota.
The Wisconsin History Tour came rolling into Superior this week, setting up shop at the Douglas County Historical Society through the end of July. The traveling exhibit includes free admission and a number of programs next week that should interest history buffs of all ages. Here to help us explore the rich and fascinating history of the state and county is Kathy Laakso, Director of Events and Exhibits for the Douglas County Historical Society. And Bob LaBounty is a past president of the local historical society and is now its archivist. And welcome, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Kathy, tell us a little bit about the traveling exhibit and what people can expect to see if they visit it.
Well, I think this is a really great opportunity for the whole state. I mean, not everybody gets to go to Madison to see exhibits over there that talk about all of our state's history. So to have it come to different parts of the state is just really a great opportunity. We will learn about our state's, you know, the comprehensive history of our state, and we get a little piece of action too. We get 3 panels that people can learn a lot about our own history, which is quite impressive too.
Mm-hmm. So. Can you give some examples of the things that are featured as far as the local history piece of it? Either one of you.
Oh, sure.
Well, there's, excuse me, there's pictures that we put on there that we thought would be interesting for the people of Douglas County, since that's who we represent.
Sure, and that was tough.
And that was, we have something like 25,000 pictures.
Really?
That
you can choose from?
yeah. And so myself and another volunteer named Bob Berg, we started out going through all the pictures, railroad pictures, and different parts of Douglas County. Then we narrowed it down and got Kathy to come, and we sat down once a week and narrowed it down to the ones we've got that we thought would be unique to Douglas County, that people thought, that we thought would be interesting to look at.
Now, President Calvin Coolidge, I don't know if he's in the display, but he had a summer White House in Douglas County.
Right.
Yes.
Fish the Brule.
Mm-hmm. We had several presidents actually in Superior and Douglas County. The exhibit itself talks about the first early part of when this was just wilderness here, and the proprietors saw some potential. And then the second part is after the 20th century, when presidents came, Coolidge was here. That is part of the exhibit, and it shows how our town and towns progressed.
Yeah. Bob, many people have artifacts stored away in attics and in garages.
Yes.
Oh, do I have stuff stored away? Now, are some of these artifacts for residents of Douglas County important at all for the Historical Society?
Yes, we wish more people would come with their stuff that they've, especially the pictures and archives is what I mainly work in. I don't work with the collection that hardly at all. I'm mostly interested in archives, pictures, and I'm always encouraging people to bring old letters, documents, pictures with names on them, not just because we have lots that don't have any names. So yes, it's very important. We'd like as many pictures as we can get.
Where can folks bring these?
1101 John.
Okay.
It's where our building's at. And
right.
And you know, letters are really something that are becoming extinct, and that's why it's so important. Even if you don't know who it's from or what it's about, you read them and you see a piece of life, and that's what's so interesting with the archives.
We've got letters from a lady, her name was Dorcas Johnson, and I know there's probably at least 2,000 letters that I've started going on and putting them in different folders and reading them from the early 1900s up until when just recently before she passed away.
Her parents had some too.
And yes, and we've got some from, it was her husband was in World War I, and we've got letters that he wrote back to his parents during World War I from Europe that are just amazing to read.
These can't be replaced, you know.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so, in fact, one young girl was doing a paper from college and went and was using those letters and parts of them for her papers, and they're really letters are really interesting to read.
Now, in addition to the exhibit, it sounds like there are a number of programs that you're going to be offering next week, and a couple of them actually seem to tie into what we're talking about right now, the Your Stuff, Your Story, where you're encouraging people to bring things in, their own things that have a story, and share that. Is that part of this effort to maybe collect some of these things that are out
like
there?
I said, we're always encouraging people, and I'm hoping this will really work to let people bring their stuff in, at least to let me scan them and put them, you know, on the hard drive, so we can have copies of them, or give us the originals, which is really nice.
Bob, who should see these displays?
Everybody in Douglas County or St. Louis County, anybody that likes history is encouraged to come. I've only stopped in once to look at it since before I came here, but it's just a great display.
And you know, even if you're not one of those history buffs, you learn about how you came about, and you can't help but be interested in what happened before you. And I don't think you do have to be interested in history.
I would hope we're not losing our sense of history, but at the same token, we probably have to age a little bit before we start thinking about the importance of history in our lives and in our community.
Yeah. Most people don't think of it when they're young. It's when they get my age that they start looking back and thinking about where they came from. And I always tell people, since I do so much research for genealogy and that somebody sometime in the future will be looking for you, and you should document stuff so it makes people like my job easier to do.
Right. Are you finding that more people are interested in genealogy with sites like Ancestry.com out there to kind of work with?
Well, I use Ancestry a lot.
Oh, do you?
Yes, to start out with when I first start a search, to make sure they're in Douglas County. And yeah, it's really become a real popular site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are very, starting in the spring, people on vacation, they're coming to do their genealogy. They're very enthusiastic about it.
Talk about some of the other programs that people can participate in.
Sure. You know, when we chose some of the things, you know, they have several presentations that they could, and you know, I said, well, people like to hunt here, so they're bringing from red plaid to blaze orange authors, and discovering your roots, that kind of thing. The Native American mounds and those kinds of things that really pertain to our area, and also the underwater archaeology.
So there are lecture series coming up?
Yes, yeah, people giving presentations, book signings, readings, and a couple of fun nights too. We have a meet and greet the first night at the Historical Society for everybody to come and see the exhibit, and then on Thursday night we're having a history happy hour at Who's Bar. They chose a historic bar. Or it's not a historic bar, but it is a bar now. It's a historic building.
So are all of these events free and open to the public?
They are, and that's the best thing, and that's why we're hoping people will come. You know, it's not going to hurt anybody to come and look at something for free, I think, and learn a little bit at the same time. It's going to be fun.
How active an organization is the Douglas County Historical Society?
It's gone through many phases. Bob and I have been in the thick of it for 15 years.
I think we're the two original people that moved into that building. All the others have gone
because
different ways.
We were with in Fairlawn for 36 years, and for 15 years now we've been on our own, and it's been through a lot of changes. A lot of great people who have been passionate. That would include a couple of us too. Very passionate about keeping the organization going, and having a responsibility to the community and the state to keep the history alive here.
We put
go ahead.
I was just going to say, we put in many hours a year
to
you know, during the year, working there, evenings, weekends, and.
But it's fun.
Now, I would imagine that an event like this now over the ensuing weeks, more and more people might be giving you a call or knocking on your door, asking if this is important. And so I would probably guess that if you're not sure of something that's important, certainly a phone call to your organization, you could help determine whether this should be preserved.
Yes.
Yeah, Bob does a lot of that, and sometimes it takes a few people to know, well, what is this and what does it mean? And so it is good to ask.
Any tips for people just on how to keep their treasures preserved?
Well, in archival folders, acid-free, use acid-free pens or the pencils for archivists, so that, you know, to keep the acid and stuff off the document.
And as a matter of fact, one of the programs on Wednesday morning will be practical preservation for your family treasures. And so
good item.
Because it is, and you know, when people are, I've got my grandparents and my mom's pictures now, and it's like, what do you do with this stuff?
Now what do I do?
Yeah, and you don't want to throw it away, of course. So how do you preserve it? And that's why it's great to have these kind of programs.
So if people want more information, it's on your website?
Yes, it is.
Which is?
www.douglashistory.org.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Good luck with the event.
Thank you.
Yes. Sounds pretty exciting.
Thanks.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Here's a look at some of the business stories of the week from Business North. Maurice's plans to celebrate a milestone Monday in the construction of its new Duluth headquarters. A topping-off ceremony will be held to recognize the placement of the last major structural steel beam for the building, now under construction at 425 West Superior Street. Maurice's employees will sign the beam before it is placed 11 stories above the ground on the front of the building. The traditional construction ceremony also will include the inclusion of an American flag and evergreen tree on the beam. The next phase of construction involves placement of precast exterior brick panels and windows before the interior work begins.
3 area television stations, KBJR, Range 11, and My 9, are no longer available to customers of Mediacom, which provides cable TV services in many communities outside of Duluth. Granite Broadcasting, which owns the stations, has reached an impasse with Mediacom, according to Granite officials. Tom Larson, Mediacom's group vice president, said Granite wants to more than double the charge Mediacom previously paid to carry the signals. Granite said the higher rate is necessary because the fees local broadcasters must pay to networks is on the rise.
6 domestic steel companies have asked the federal government to assess anti-dumping duties against foreign steel imports. The petitioners include Steel Dynamics, United States Steel, AK Steel, and ArcelorMittal, which all have Iron Range mining operations. The companies say imports of sheet steel from China, India, Italy, South Korea, and Taiwan increased 85% between 2012 and 2014. They further contend foreign steelmakers are charging up to 124% below American prices. It could take a year before the agencies issue a ruling. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
And if you have a comment on the show, call now, dial 218-788-2849 to reach our answering system, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org. Don't forget, the WDSE website is a great place to get program updates and to find out what's happening at your public television station. And Denny, let's hope the weather cooperates for all of the graduation ceremonies and for the grad parties this weekend. Lots of planning goes into those.
A lot of planning. Grad parties underway this weekend. I have one on Sunday.
I do as well. So good luck with the weather on those. For Denny and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend.